Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of IlimCast. And beside me, I have my co-host, principal colleague, Miss Derya Buyukyazici from the Glenroy Primary Campus. Welcome, Miss Derya.
Thank you, Mr. Akin. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Adam Voigt from Real Schools. He's the director and founder of Real Schools, as well as an author. Welcome to this episode of IlimCast, Adam. It's a great honour and a privilege for our school community to have you as part of our IlimCast during this episode. How are you? How are you keeping during these unprecedented times?
Yeah, I'm well. Hanging in there and trying not to climb the walls too hard or too fast. And thank you for having me. It's an honour to be a part of this and to be sending a message out to your community. As it has been for quite a few years now, to be able to catch up with both of you and have a good chat. So thank you for putting the time aside.
I'd like to begin with an icebreaker, and it is during this pandemic, or when this pandemic ends, what is something that you'd like to do, or what is a goal that you have in mind? I'll start off first. And then, we'll get Miss Derya and you to let us know what your goals are or what you'd like to do. In March this year, we were planning on going on an overseas holiday. And unfortunately, with the current climate, with the pandemic, we cancelled our flights and accommodation. So it's something that we're really looking forward to. So hopefully, when this pandemic ends, we're really looking forward to going overseas. And visiting family and friends, and so Miss Derya, what would be something that you would like to do when this whole pandemic ends? I'm sure
something on the bucket list post-COVID. I want to actually see Ayers Rock. I know when the borders close up this time around, I thought, you know what, I need to see that wonder that's on our lands. So that's something for us. Get some friends together and go up to see Ayers Rock and visit Uluru and get that vibe. Yeah.
Inshallah. Over to you, Adam.
I think for me, I know I've been to Uluru. It's just a majestic and gorgeous place. And I actually spent 9-10 years living in the Northern Territory. So that country is just a place that's just dear to my heart. But I think for me, during the COVID Corona lockdown period, I think I've missed the little things the most. So I think what I'm looking forward to the most when this all is all over is just being with friends. I think just even getting a little joy out of even wandering down the road here to watch a local football game and feeling the sunshine on my face in the company of others and smelling the liniment and the badly cooked pies and the vinegar on the salt and vinegar chips. I think that's the kind of the little things that I'm looking forward to. So I think it'd be a local football match would be my thing that I really want to do when this is all done.
Nice.
Thank you for sharing that, Adam. These times have been a challenge for us all, no doubt, and the mental health and well-being is probably the highest priority for us all. What are some of your tips and recommendations for people to maintain good mental health and well-being?
I think you tap into an incredibly important point. And I think it's something that I think, we're obviously located in Victoria and we're going through a period now that's really difficult for everybody. That's difficult for the staff of your schools, but also for parents and also for kids as well. And I feel almost like the first time we did it, there was a sense of almost a little bit of a grand adventure. We were doing something new and it's a little bit exciting. And what are we going to learn? What are we going to find out? And then I think the second time there was more of a sense of, oh no, not again. And so I think that in terms of our own well-being, how do we look after that? I think that the first thing to do is to forgive ourselves that. We can fight it. We can be annoyed with ourselves for not being as excited or interested first time around, or not being, even for our students, not being as motivated to feel like opening the laptop and doing another online class or completing another worksheet at home or whatever the case may be. But I think we need to forgive ourselves not being excited about it. It's all right. I think the two other things that I've seen people doing that I really think are fantastic for well-being is, first of all, to make sure that daily you find a way to get outside. I think that, you know, that I mentioned before how much I'm craving that feeling of spending some time with the sun on my face and the wind in my hair kind of feeling. So I think getting some outside time for us daily is really important. And then I think it's finding something else to make you feel, I think this is a really important thing around wellbeing, is finding something else that helps you feel a sense of progress. You know, that helps you feel like you're getting somewhere, that helps you feel like every day isn't just Groundhog Day, that it's just the same thing over and over and over again. My one for that is that I've joined my wife on the app Duolingo, and where she's got a Russian heritage, and so we're learning Russian together. You know, whether we get to use that one day or not, I don't know. But we're enjoying that it's only about 5 or 10 minutes every day, but we're enjoying seeing ourselves work through the levels and get harder and harder. And I think that when we're stuck on our own, having something that helps us feel like we're getting somewhere is a really useful thing to do for our own well-being.
I think when we talk about well-being, a cohort of people that have been really pressured and patient during this phenomenal time are our parents and all the carers supporting our children with their remote learning. And we want to take this opportunity to thank all of our parents and congratulate them and give a shout out for the amazing work that they've been doing day in, day out. And we also want to just reflect and get you to reflect a bit on yourself, because we know you've got some children at home as well, Adam. So asking you as a parent, if you could share some of your experiences and some strategies that you may be using at home with your children, and what's working for you with remote learning as a parent.
I think, again, as I mentioned before, I want to start with that notion of, as a parent, forgiving ourselves and forgiving others when things aren't perfect, that it's okay. And so, you know, I've had parents who've sent me a message and said, you know, well, I just feel like I can't do this again. You know, my child is, you know, doesn't like the online environment, or doesn't seem to like it one day, but it's fantastic the next day. I've got so many other things I need to do. You know, what do I do if he didn't go to his 2 periods that afternoon where he was supposed to be there? And I said, well, first of all, just remind yourself that it's okay, that that it's not always about how much they get done or whether they're missing a piece of the curriculum or not. I've said several times when I've, you know, been asked to make comment in the media about schools across this really tricky year, that we're just not going to have a generation of kids wandering around in the future with stupid tattooed to their foreheads because they were educated in the age of coronavirus. It's going to be okay. Our young people are going to be all right, and to remind ourselves that if they miss a period or two, if you don't do it well one day, if you feel like you can't do it one day, if you miss a little bit, it's going to be all right. Everything's going to be okay. And I think the other thing as parents that we can do to support our kids is just talk to them about it. You know, so ask your kids in the morning, you know, what have you got on today? But perhaps frame it from a curiosity point of view rather than an accusation point of view. So instead of coming to your kids in the morning and saying, you know, I'm going to be watching today to make sure that you're doing all of your subjects and all of your lessons, ask what have you got on today? Anything I can help with? You know, what's a good time for me to drop a hot chocolate on your table this morning? And I think at the end, asking them to reflect back. What did you learn today? You know, and I think that for parents, it can be really simple as something like do, know, be. You know, so asking us, what do you know now that you didn't know at the start of the day? You know, what did you do? What did you practice? You know, and what do you think you've gotten better at? What about you? How have you gotten better today? You know, just really simple questions like that before and after. And as you know, both of you know, in our training, we talk a lot about check-in and check-out circles, and it's effectively what you're doing. So being a teacher at home is about asking lots of questions and coming with curiosity rather than accusation.
I like that. Do, know, be. I'm putting that one in my pocket, Mr. Akin. Thanks, Adam.
Pretty simple and pretty effective lesson plan, I think, for us teachers sometimes too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We're really grateful that there are some support networks there for communities, and with Real Schools, are there any new initiatives or projects to support families? For instance, maybe a parent support group or networking that Real Schools has to offer?
Yeah, we haven't set anything specifically up for parents to be able to join, and we've actually had some conversations about that. We did some some online chats for principals, for assistant principals, and for teachers. And we had two cohorts of people say, what about us? And it was parents, and it was our learning support assistants. So our people who are, who work specifically with students who attract funding so they can get that special help. So we're looking further at that. But one of the things we are doing is trying to say, I think that one of the things that parents have appreciated this year, if there's a silver lining in this year, it's been that they've got a little peek behind the curtain at what it's like to be a teacher. And so what we've said is, right, okay, how can we make sure that parents, if they enjoyed that peek, if they were curious about that, how could they find out more? And so for schools like yours that have the access to the Real Schools member section, we make sure that the login for that is something that you can distribute to all of your family so they can see all the things that we're working on. I'm also running webinars every Wednesday afternoon at 3:45 from now until the end of November. And if your parents were to follow, for instance, the Real Schools Facebook page, they'll see the links that they can use to register for those. Now, some of them are for teachers, some of them are for school leaders, and some of them are for anybody who has to work with young people. And so they might be really interested. We ran one yesterday on restorative circles in the classroom, and we had 445 people register for it from 8 different countries. So we had people who were up in the United States and Canada. We had people from Belgium. We had people from Russia online yesterday. At all ridiculous hours to find out how they can do classroom architecture a bit differently. And we had lots of comments from people saying, oh, this isn't really about teaching, this is just about how to get along with kids. And I said, yeah, it is, and so we want people to know that all of those things are available to them, and we're trying hard to work on that notion that there's no secret teacher's business. This is about people and bringing people together.
That's really exciting. I'm sure you'll see some of our Ilim parents in those webinars. So thanks for sharing that with us.
I mean, let's go back to a little bit about touching on the extraordinary work that our staff are doing, our team. I know we're up to remote learning version 2.0, and we've done some bug fixes, we call it, with our first version. So when we rolled out for term 3, and things are it's just getting richer and richer week in, week out. We're seeing, our teachers really delving in, digging deep and finding ways of going about and doing things. That's our teachers, our administrators, our education support staff, our school leaders. We're all just trying to, as you say, continue our role in a somewhat distant but connected way. And we're going to ask you, what would be 3 non-negotiable must-have attributes or qualities that we could take with us on this journey as we go towards the end of term 3?
Yeah, so I think for the staff of your school, and I love that story that you've told there, Derya, about how what teachers did at the start of the year was when the first wave came, was to move so nimbly, so quickly to completely redesign a way of delivering an education experience for our kids. And it was so impressive, so extraordinarily impressive. But there was no way that first go it was going to be perfect. So I think that what we're learning is what needs to be refined moving forward. I think this second opportunity, and what I've seen has been typical. So if you talk about the 3 things of what I think schools need to focus on now and staffs need to focus on now, is that I think that the first time around we focused on content. So I think that there was a lot of schools that said, wow, we're going to have to go online. What online platform are we going to use? What are we going to upload? How are we going to do video? Is it going to be live? Is it going to be recorded videos? How are the kids going to get a worksheet? How are we going to assess them? And so there was this big curriculum obsession, and that's okay because our schools are houses of learning. We want to make learning happen. So we look for a way to do what we were already doing on a platform in terms of what's the content that we build. But I think that what you're articulating is that the second time round, what are the refinements? And I think they've been around connection. So I think that schools have cottoned on that the thing that people are missing the most about schools being open and being able to be in a school every single day is the fact that schools are built so that you can do learning in the company of others. And so it's that connection piece. So I think that number one, yes, we want to have content in place, but I think we're working out now you need the connection bit. So you need those two. But I think that what schools are moving towards now, that particularly some really clever ones, have been about, well, what's the overlap between the two? If you view it like a Venn diagram, content and connection, the best stuff happens when we're actually leveraging great connection for content. So that's been my third one, is what's in the overlap for you. I've seen some schools work through that and do remarkable things. You know, and I saw an online lesson for a teacher, a year 5 teacher, and what she did in the first lesson was to give her students a tour of the house. And so she took them with the iPad around the house, showing them different things. And when she got into the backyard, she introduced them to Rusty the dog. And then the next day, when they had an English lesson, she asked the students to write a creative piece about what would happen. What would Rusty's day be like if she left the side gate open and Rusty got out for the day? What would he be up to? Now, that's content. They're going to produce a creative writing piece. This is learning the skill of English and literacy, but they're using the connection that they've got. So the fact that they talk, and they're all had these chats about who's got a dog, who hasn't got a dog, what's your dog like, you know, what personality do they have, and that all fed into these wonderful stories that got written by these students, totally unsupervised, you know, almost unassisted at home doing it, but rich and really good examples of what they were doing. So I think that anytime we're able to do that, to maintain the connection so that we get through more content, we're doing something really useful. I've seen teachers running what they're calling tables of 6, where once a day they're inviting a group of 6 students to just have a chat with them for 20 minutes. Because I said that's a good number to be able to check in and see how people are going and get some help for each other. I've seen schools running, one teacher runs a town hall, which is that Thursday, I think it is, at about 4 o'clock, she jumps on an online session for parents. And she just says that if you're a parent of a child in my class, and you want to talk, you want to ask some questions about why you're doing this, how do I do that, come along and we'll talk about it. And they're genuinely people who are in collaboration, and I reckon that's really cool that they're people who are, you know, because here's my theory. I reckon that when the students we're teaching now are all grown up and have got families of their own and are out there solving the world's big problems, I don't reckon they're going to look back at this coronavirus period. I don't think they're going to look back and reflect on how much work they got through. But I think they will remember how the adults behaved in a crisis. So I think we need to be really clear that our kids are watching at the moment to see how the teachers and the parents get along. And if they get along, they're going to remember that's what you do when times are hard. And so I think we've got to be mindful of the example we're setting there and do little things that allow us to get along and solve problems together well.
Adam, I always know your storytelling is followed by Adam's theory, and I'm going to agree with Adam's theory on this one. It all goes back to those relationships, and the children are always watching, and we say this all the time. And it's a great opportunity to teach and show them how to get through a crisis.
Yep.
And it's taking us a while, but we're going to pull through. Yep, and we're going to do it all together.
Yeah. They're learning that far more acutely than they're learning fractions, comprehension, conjugating verbs. They learn that stuff can happen, you know, but they're watching at the moment the way you behave when things are hard.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Adam, we've had a wonderful partnership with Real Schools for a number of years now, and you've actually conducted some sessions for our staff, you know, teaching staff, non-teaching staff, for our parents, where we had the parent sessions, also our students in class as well. You know, with our school community knowing you really well, what would be your message to our school community during these unprecedented and challenging times that we all live in?
I think my main message would be, you're hearing a lot of prominent people, including politicians, say we're all in this together at the moment. And I think that the message should be, well, how would the kids know if they were watching us? You know, how would they know that we genuinely are in this together? And so I do think that it's really important for parents and communities to keep a bit of optimism about them, that we are going to be okay. We're going to come through this well. And I think it's also important to remember sometimes that if everything's a priority, nothing is. So our priority at the moment is to look after each other and to follow the rules. So we've got some restrictions in place on us in lockdown at the moment that none of us like, but can we not like it and still do it is, I think, a really important question. I think our kids are watching for that. And I think if we can say, and the other priority I think we've got is to look after each other, is to just keep each other well, to consider each other's mental health, to approach people, to approach problems, to approach challenges with kindness, and to remember that as hard as it might be to swallow to say something like this for an educator, because I'm so passionate about great education and great learning for our kids, that maybe the time to focus on how much curriculum we get through is not now. Maybe the time to make that a priority will come. When we get to the other side of this and when all of your students flood back into the school, and some of them have done really well in online learning, some of them haven't, and there'll be gaps and there'll be opportunities, and then we're going to need our teachers to step up. And I think we all know they will. They'll do that when the time comes. For the moment, can we just say that our job is to approach each other with kindness, to look after each other's well-being, to keep some optimism in place, and to follow the rules. I think that would be my message to your community.
This is the end of this particular IlimCast. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you all in another episode of IlimCast. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Stay safe, everybody.